When my 8-year-old son opened his bedroom door after our 10-day trip, he didn't find his bed, his toys, or the wooden keepsakes his late father had made for him. He found 4 empty walls and my younger sister lying on an air mattress. She barely looked up before smiling and saying, "I sold everything. Got a good price." She thought stealing from a child was the end of the story. She had no idea it was the beginning of hers. Rachel had spent the last 3 years focused on one thing: giving her 8-year-old son, Tommy, a sense of stability after losing his father. They lived in a multi-generational family home where Tommy's bedroom had become far more than a place to sleep. Every shelf held memories, from the wooden toys his dad had carved by hand to the collectibles they had slowly gathered together over the years. After saving for months, Rachel finally took Tommy on their first real vacation in years. A 10-day trip to visit his grandparents. It was supposed to be a chance to breathe, recharge, and come home with something they had not felt in a long time: peace. That feeling lasted exactly until Tommy opened his bedroom door. Instead of his bed, desk, and treasured belongings, he found an empty room with 4 bare walls. Sitting comfortably on an air mattress was Rachel's younger sister, Brenda. When Rachel demanded to know where Tommy's things had gone, Brenda barely looked up before saying, "I took the room. I sold everything. Got a good price." Moments later, their mother stepped in and casually defended the decision, insisting Brenda needed a nursery because she was pregnant and that giving up the room was only fair. Tommy said nothing. He simply buried his face against Rachel's coat as tears quietly ran down his cheeks. Rachel wanted to scream, but she didn't. She picked up her son's bag, took his hand, and walked away without another word. Brenda smiled, convinced the argument was over. She had no idea she had just made the biggest mistake of her life. Rachel booked a small extended-stay hotel for the night, giving Tommy a quiet place to sleep while she focused on what mattered. Instead of firing off angry messages or demanding apologies, she opened her laptop and started gathering evidence. Every receipt for Tommy's furniture, every photo of his bedroom, every bank record, and every text message went into a single organized folder. Meanwhile, Brenda acted as if the matter was already settled. She laughed about finally getting the brightest room in the house, convinced that family loyalty would keep Rachel from doing anything serious. Even after Rachel left without a fight, Brenda saw the silence as surrender instead of strategy. That confidence only grew. When relatives began calling Rachel selfish for refusing to support her pregnant sister, while everyone else argued over feelings, Rachel focused entirely on facts. She wasn't preparing for another family argument. She was preparing a legal case. The next morning, Rachel met with an attorney and laid every document across the desk. One detail immediately changed the entire case. Years earlier, after her husband's passing, Rachel had used insurance money to pay off the remaining mortgage, making her a legal co-owner of the property. She also had clear proof that every item taken from Tommy's room belonged to him. The lawyer calmly explained that this was no longer a family disagreement. It was documented property theft supported by receipts, ownership records, and Brenda's own written admissions. Instead of rushing into a confrontation, Rachel followed the attorney's advice and sent a formal legal demand, giving Brenda one final opportunity to return everything before the law stepped in. Rachel never argued with the legal notice or tried to pressure Brenda into doing the right thing. She simply gave her exactly what the letter required: 72 hours to return every item or pay its verified replacement value. Brenda treated the deadline like an empty threat. She dismissed the notice, told relatives Rachel was trying to scare a pregnant woman, and even spent the money from Tommy's belongings decorating her new nursery instead of fixing the problem. When the deadline expired without a single item returned, Rachel followed her attorney's instructions to the letter. She filed the police report, submitted the receipts, photographs, ownership documents, text messages, and Brenda's own admission that she had sold everything. Investigators quickly traced the online sales and recovered much of Tommy's property, while the remaining losses became part of the legal claim. The evidence left no room for excuses. In court, Brenda's attorney tried to dismiss the case as a simple family disagreement. But the documented proof told a different story. The judge ruled in Rachel's favor, ordered restitution for the unrecovered property, and approved the sale of the co-owned house. The moment Brenda realized her own decisions had created the evidence against her, the confidence disappeared. The courtroom fell silent as the judge ruled in Rachel's favor. Brenda's confident smile disappeared the instant she realized the evidence against her had come from her own choices. She was ordered to pay restitution for the property that could not be recovered, and the court approved the sale of the co-owned house, because the owners could no longer reasonably share it. What Brenda thought would be an easy way to claim a nursery ended with her losing the very home she expected to stay in. Rachel used her share of the proceeds to give Tommy something no one could ever take away again, a safe place to call home. Some people believe family excuses everything, but the law doesn't recognize entitlement as ownership. Rachel never won by shouting louder. She won because she stayed patient, documented every fact, and trusted the process. Sometimes the strongest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's allowing someone to face the consequences of their own decisions. And in the next story, another ordinary person discovers that one overlooked rule can completely change who gets the last word.